Namaste. Welcome back, beautiful souls, to decks I recommend. And part 6 is about decks that connect to your higher self, to your own divine consciousness. And as in the previous videos, I will be sharing 2 mass market and 2 self-published decks. Left to right, this is my personal Soul Cards Tarot, Thoth Journey Tarot, Pholarchos Tarot, and Osho Zen Tarot. In the words of Nova, the lovely creator of this tarot tag, these as above decks connect the reader to cosmic or spiritual realms. They are ideal for soul work, life path exploration, or messages from the higher self. These decks speak to divine perspective. As well, I would expand that to say divine purpose. This is the Osho Zen Tarot by Ma Deva Padma and the community at Osho. The guidebook is written, I believe, by a collective of people. And these are and have been very special cards for me. There was a time where I read with these cards exclusively for about 3 years. I did personal readings as well as readings for clients. And at that time, the deck was not trimmed. This was something that happened a little bit later on, as I didn't need the keywords any longer. And the cards were quite beat up, so I decided to trim them and remove the keywords. And it kind of frees up the readings with this deck in the removing of the keywords. I won't say that they are limiting. For the most part, they are excellent. But with my experience and familiarity with this deck, I really didn't need them. This is just such an amazing, this suit of rainbows is the suit of earth, and this is the 7 of earth, all these moon phases, and it's just a beautiful card. The suit of rainbows is lovely. You can see the energy of all of the chakras running through this place we call earth. Gorgeous 8th arcanum. And you can see here, this is the 8th and the 11th arcanum. And for the most part, you will be able to find relationship with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. In some cases, the meaning is a bit esoteric, or the keyword or the direction. However, it is most definitely connected and based in the familiar Rider-Waite-Smith deck. This is the 19th, the Sun card. And perhaps some of them just take a little bit of time to connect with. I believe the keyword on this one might have been innocence. I think it's really a powerful 19th card. Light, and I'll show you the moon. Let's just compare and contrast that right now. So because I've put this in the as above category, what I am focusing on here is the connection to not just our higher selves, but the belief, the faith, the day-to-day, I don't know how to say this. It's about making our connections with the divine a way of being, and realizing that the divine is part of our everyday life, that the magic of our divinity is here and always with us. Okay, so this is the moon card, 18th arcanum, and here you see what might look like an hourglass supported by these magical salamanders, and many, many lives we have lived, and this is all held in Hands. Really kind of a beautiful card. You might feel something like this in Anatolian's Tarot of the Abyss in the Ten of Pentacles. The moon is about cycles of life and the unfolding of our path. And part of that is the deep understanding of where we have come from and where we are moving to. And while that may be cyclical, like the cycle of the moon, it doesn't necessarily move past, present, future. There's something about the spiral of life. And I think this is depicted beautifully with the hourglass. Maybe this also is reflective in that we see the as above, so below. So if I were to fold this card in half, one would be a mirror of the other. Being present, being mindful at all stages of life, always seeing the wonder of life is one of the big meanings that I take away from that card. Finding the beauty and the divinity here and now, and seeing the stars and seeing the light and seeing the magic. Understanding about lines of energy, and I appreciate that we can't always feel and be in that zone all the time, but a deck like this reminds me of how powerful life can be when we see life in that way. This is the Ace of Rainbows, the Ace of Earth. And there's something here. This reminds me, of being in the garden and truly being in the garden, being in the energy of the garden. And what I find is that the material cards, the challenging cards, really get us to have a hard look at the life we choose and how we navigate our time here. The Suit of Swords, so this is water cups. The pages are right-facing triangles and the knights are left-facing triangles. This is an interesting Five of Fire. Love this king. In a lot of these cards, you'll see a background or a silhouette and things moving through a silhouette. What was I about to say? I think I was going to talk about the Suit of Swords and the challenges in the Suit of Swords, the Suit of Clouds, the mind. And I think that is one of the greatest challenges when we learn to meditate and be mindful, is to still the mind. And in learning not to compare, there are as many strong and powerful qualities and uses of bamboo as there are of the mighty oak. And sometimes we get lost. The mind gets lost in comparison. 8 of Clouds. The cage that these thoughts can create is truly painful and exhausting. Funny, I should say that word. And here's the 9 of Fire. There's some sort of this one is really about machination, and how we get chained to our material experience. And I think about the one where the woman is carrying all her stuff up the hill. I'll get to that card in a moment. I think the challenging cards just really get us to have a hard look at what's going on here. And that may not be your reality at this time, but there is some aspect of it. And I think that's why I spent 3 years with this deck, because I wanted to make peace with the Suit of Swords, to truly understand about perspective and what these cards were teaching me. Gorgeous 20th Arcanum. And here's the 4 of Air. And notice how the beauty of the view is in color, but the larger picture is all gray. Perspective. I think perspective is a great word for this suit. King of Fire. This is transformation, 13th Arcanum, and here's a knight. Knight of Water. Familiar looking hermit. Lots of challenges also in the suit of fire. I believe this one is called Stress. We just try to do too much. There are 2 guidebooks that go with this deck. Both of them are excellent. And it's not a deck that you want to rush through. Some of the cards will take time to find connection. If you are deeply connected to the Waite-Smith Tarot or one of its inspired variations. This one might have been called Maya. I don't remember what it was called. So Chariot energy, and you can see the human here struggling to find their divine self. And all the while it's right there. And it's being revealed, it's partially revealed. But there's something about the way the hands are positioned that it's a struggle to know this aspect of self. Chariot's not an easy card to study. I spent a lot of time with Marielle Chariot, and I love the lessons that I learned there. And it is the tipping off point from first to second septenary. And I feel like in this one, we're more third septenary kind of thing going on here. This is not a wheel that I ever forget, especially the description that comes with it. So let's go back. Let's get that other one. This is 4 of Water. And you can see all the voices around. And then I was showing you the 4 of Swords, which many of us know as rest or restoration. And it's the one that had the window. So what you can do with this deck, like any other deck, is to examine all of the 4s and work with it in that way. We are resting in both of these cards, making peace with the noise of the mind, making peace with the noise of the eyes, sacred space. The court cards of the Suit of Clouds are also really difficult. And this is a really interesting 3 of Earth. I find this deck gets you to completion as 21, gets you to look at things in I don't know, it can be really harsh, really, really harsh. So 6 of Swords in a lot of decks is painted so favorably. We are moving on, and there is a promise of peace in the distance. At least it feels that way. In this 6 of Swords, it's not just moving on. I think we need to be careful. The approach to that. And we certainly do not feel a sense of peace or heart chakra in this particular card. Politics card is really difficult. This is a beautiful Knight of Earth, Knight of Pentacles. So it will take you in different directions. And I never want to force a deck to read like one other that I have studied. I really like to allow decks to be their own thing. And this is one that will really help you to find the sacred in the mundane. The Osho Zen Tarot by Ma Deva Padma. Several years ago, there were some YouTube content creators who took Soul Cards 1 and 2 and made a personal tarot deck. So selected 78 cards from the large collection of cards in Soul Cards 1 and 2. And I really enjoyed this process. These are amazing cards. They are created by Deborah Koff Chapin and below you'll see the link to the Touch Drawing Center. If you don't know anything about this, it is really something, the way that these cards were created, these drawings were created. And there's something about the energy, the divinity. There is a calling in these cards. They touch your spirit. They touch a place that you may not even know needed touching. And you may be able to see, so this is 6 of Earth, the card I chose for 6 of Earth. And to watch a few of these videos is really something. I believe I did 2 videos on the cards I selected for my personal Soul Cards Tarot. And many people said, oh yeah, Sadhana, I chose that one too. And others chose something completely different. This kind of exercise really gets you to think about what your heartfelt connection is to the archetype of each of the cards. I feel a tenderness and a divine lesson in every single one of these cards. This one I chose for 10 of Air. Five of Air. Chariot. Emperor. You can see the martial energy radiating there. There's a priestess and the devil. And if you're interested in hearing more about why I chose the cards I did, you can just search Soul Cards Tarot within my channel, on my main channel page. And it's funny how some of these cards look so, I mean, some people might choose this one as Four of Swords, and this one I chose is 5 of Pentacles, Knight of Pentacles. I'm going to leave this one out. This is the second time I'm recording this video. And when I went through these the other day, I was just so moved by the experience. I haven't had these out for ages, and I need to leave them out. I don't think after I did the project, I worked with these cards as a tarot deck for long enough. It's the trouble with having so many decks. 6 of Air. And if I did this again, maybe I would choose different cards. I have done this exercise with other decks, or where I reimagined other decks. I remember doing that with the Hush Tarot. I encourage anyone to do this challenge. And I'm sure some of you may have done it with other oracle decks or tarot decks that you wanted to reconfigure. This is 6 of Fire and 3 of Air. Page of Earth. Yeah. Soul Cards 1 and 2, reimagined as my personal Soul Cards Tarot by Deborah Koff-Chapin. This is the first of 2 self-published decks. This is the Thoth Journey Tarot by Joanna Kate Grant. And artwork by Aya Lu. They are friends. Lovely backstory. I believe they're in Ireland. This is a Thoth-inspired deck, and there is an extra guidebook which reads as a journal. And in that guidebook, Joanna begins in a room and then leaves the room and enters into the landscape of each of the cards. And what you see in the card is only a portion of what she describes in the landscape of each card. She journeys in and wanders through the landscape and beautifully describes in metaphor the planetary associations and other relevant meanings of the card through her journey, through her wandering into the landscape. And it is mesmerizing, it is inspiring. If you are doing a Deikan walk, I would strongly recommend picking up the extra journal and working with this deck. I did it side by side with Sarah Wheatley's deck. I prefer this one. Sarah Wheatley's deck is amazing, but this one, there's just something about it that captures an essence, an energy. And so as above deck, much of what I said in the previous one, while Joanna wanders into material landscapes, there is a ethereal quality to each of her experiences. And the energy within the landscapes is kind of speechless. It's really something. You can't imagine. It's like you feel the textures of the paintings through her poetic words. And you do not need to have the journal pages. You can simply do that yourself, path work into these cards. This Chariot for me it's just a crazy, beautiful card. The inward peace. We see all these horses down below. The depth of spiritual connection is limitless. And what is built in this card is the connection of spirit to all things, all beings, plants and animals, peoples of all generations and places. She wanders all over the planet. Landscapes in China, Egypt, remote mountain passes, perhaps, in Nepal, all kinds of places. They're not necessarily named in all of the descriptions, but it's a bit like, I'm thinking of the Earth Power Oracle. I love that one, where you go all over the place and including your own backyard. And that's a bit of what I feel here, is that we're also connected to many cultures. And that's part of the lesson, is the divinity, is that divinity is experienced all over the world. Under the water, high in the mountains, on the farm. And for Aya to so beautifully paint and accurately paint the poetic and mesmerizing words of Joanna, those two must have some deep connection. Some of the cards, I recorded the journal entry and saved my voice memo because I just wanted to listen to her words, her poetry. And in some cases, I saw familiar cards. This is one. I felt the Three of Water from the Marielle. But it is very unique in its delivery. I was very moved by the story for the Four of Air and the school that is presented here. And look at this Nine of Water. So much beauty. This is the Thoth Journey Tarot by Joanna Kate Grant and art by Ayalu. And the fourth deck I'll be sharing with you today is the Pholarchos Tarot by Carmen Sorrenti. This is a dreamscape, a deck that studies dream, that goes deep into the dream experience and healing through dreams. The Pholarchos were oracles that helped people to process their dreams, who lived in caves off the Mediterranean. I have studied this deck in depth and really appreciate the extra PDF. I have interviewed Carmen and spent days really diving into each of these cards. This one is a favorite. I see a green heart shape here, and we see the flowers emerging in the heart space of the Empress. And I love that I'm seeing green and pink, both colors of the heart space. All of this abundance, the Venusian green as well too. So much going on here. I had some long conversations with Carmen about some of these cards, and like talking to Kelly Burton or Marie White, Anna Torian even, creators are amazed at the things their viewers find in decks that were never intended. And in this particular deck, this is the Hanged one if you can't see the title, you will be carried away. There's a lot of alchemy in this deck, and Carmen does a great job of describing the mechanics of alchemy, as well as the layers of interpretation of that process. What does it mean to turn lead to gold? To learn to play with the elements in this way. And I think through the dreamscape, through the method, if you will, that this deck, or the approach that this deck takes, it will begin to open something in you. Now the minor suits, so this is 9 of wings and 10 of sparks. The higher numbers have more color on the cards. So you can see here the 2 of sparks has a lot of white space, and there are a lot of small, seemingly disconnected stories going on the deck, but they're all part of a story and connected. Here in the 2 of wings, we're looking at the alembics, and you're looking at the content, the relationship between them, the energy, what's going on up here. It's a lot. It's a lot to process and work with. Another clever thing, so the knights are called trails. They are the first court card. They're or maybe even the first card that guides you into the suit. Love that concept. The knights are black and white, as are the aces. Here's the ace of sparks, ace of fire, and they're also blindfolded. All this potential energy waiting to take off from the gate. I did a whole series on this deck if you're interested. There'll be about 12, 15. I don't remember how many videos I did. And like all special decks, this one will have you stretched in new ways and new interpretations, and then you will come back and have these aha moments. I can apply that to what I already know. I've done lots of deep dives on my channel, and every time I do that, it's amazing how I find something. The study of tarot as a self-healing tool, as a tarot teacher, the exploring of all of this it's never ending. Never ending. And then you can come back to a deck like this a few years later and study it again and see something new, have a new appreciation for what's going on. And I believe Carmen has completed her PhD in dream. It's not dream analysis, but in the study of what happens in dreams. And she's written some papers and we'll have more, maybe even a new deck, I believe, to offer us at some point. There's a small guidebook that comes with the deck, and then there is the online PDF. And I believe she said that the online PDF will become a book at some point. But I think what's happened is she has studied so much, and all of this has evolved, and she's ready to create a new deck. Ace of Wings. You can look into the black and white painting and see all kinds of things. And so the 10, the beautiful Ace of Coral, the 10 of Wings looks very similar, but it's not blindfolded and it's full color. So there you go. There's Ace of Wings and 10 of Wings, where you see the realization of the experience of the suit. Very cleverly done. So my fourth recommendation for As Above, the Pholarchos Tarot by Carmen Sorrenti. This is the image on the back of the cards with the hermit emerging here. Beautiful. Dreamer of Sparks is the page of fire. And the Emperor with his looking glass, with his mirror. Big mirror behind, handheld one in the front. So much to reflect on in this deck, to connect to something powerful within your divine self. And here's a look at the 4 decks side by side. The Page of Pentacles. Far left is my personal soul cards tarot. Dreamer of Spirals from the Pholarchos Tarot. Earth Princess from the Thoth Journey Tarot. And far right is the Page of Rainbows from Osho Zen Tarot. Thank you for watching. I look forward to your feedback. Namaste.